be it out on tour, across the world because you travel this job. What driver heads of the new launches? Name two, just so we're not playing favorites here, because nobody likes that. Everybody gets all fucking butthurt.
Yeah. Name
What
one and then just name another one.
just
Um,
what two
there's,
drivers do you get excited about?
I see what you're doing here, Johnny, and I don't like it.
It's an
Um,
honest show, bud. I want to hear
no,
what you
I
think.
know. I hear you. I hear you.
I asked Kellen the same question, by the way. He said GT
I,
two.
I know you did. I watched it. I love that. I love that guy, by the way. Kellen's good people. We'll get to him in a second, but here's the thing I will say. Every time a new head comes out, we have our own CG and MOI at Fuji. So I'm measuring specs on it. I kind of get an idea. My job is I know what my shafts do. I'm measuring every single head to kind of figure out where that is to see if there's any bias into these heads so I can do a better job in terms of fitting these tour guys. So I know a lot of information about these heads and what they're going to do before they even hit it. I do all my own independent testing. And again, I'm not a tour player, but I'm a decent enough golfer to where I tested them all. And I will say, honestly, they are very, very, very close.
Yeah, all of them are. I agree.
All of them are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
To me a big metric is right. If I was going to look, and this is how I'll answer that question. If I was going to look at it and say, who are the non-contracted tour guys and what are they using this year?
GT
I would
three.
say, I would say GT. The Titleist GT is a big one. I will say the Ping. They've done a great job with the 440. I will say it seems like it has the forgiveness of the 430, and it's even a little bit faster,
Yeah.
which has been liked by a lot of independent non-contracted guys. I think TaylorMade and Callaway have also done a fantastic job. I think the Strixon driver has been great this year too,
I
which
have
not a lot of
one.
people
I
talk
have one.
about.
I have a Strixon coming in the mail. I'm excited to hit this thing.
Really good. PXG's sneaky good. Cobra has a really fast driver, and you get 19 million options to change loft and lie and face, and it's so for me to even pick two, I would say is really hard. But I will say, looking at the guys, the non-contracted guys, and what they're playing, Titleist had a great year. Ping had a great year. And Callaway had a really good year. TaylorMade's kind of focused on some really top movers, some top needle movers, but they make a great driver. They all make great drivers.
See, I look at it like this. I like, especially coming out of the Callaway haze. Like, I'm trying to see platform to platform if there was one driver that really made a leap forward versus its predecessor or somebody else in their category, right?
If
Somebody
it,
else.
if that's your question, I would say Titleist.
Yeah, GT2 specifically, that head
Really?
to me was the one that out because I remember TSR and then TSRI, whatever. I mean, they had a bunch of them, whatever. But the twos were okay. They were forgiving. They weren't very fast. They were just okay. This GT2, for example, speaking of north south up and down the face, and really having a very neutral CG. Because the driver that I play right now is the GT2 with the Ventus Red. And what I found with that head, which is very unique, and I haven't seen it in a long time, is north to south. And I said this in one of my "What's in the Bag" video. North to south, that driver is incredible. What I mean by that is, if you want to hit that kind of, tee it high, that big FU ball that's got no spin on it, that ball's in there. But if you want to tilt CG, tee it down low, get that thing going out north to south, that driver is incredible. I've always found a driver that did one thing really, really well. I've had a hard time in the last 8, 9 years finding a driver that does both. And that's the first driver that I've hit in years that I could tee it this far off the ground and hit this bullet that
Yeah,
doesn't overspin. And then I could tee it high and hit this big tomahawk if I want to. I haven't seen a
yeah,
driver for me personally that I've been able to do that with at will like I
yeah.
have this one.
I think and again, that was just kind of leaps and bounds from their last product that they've created, right? They've always made good product, right? But I
Oh
think
God,
in
yeah.
I think maybe ball speeds might have just been just maybe a touch on the low side compared to some of their competitors. And I will say this new driver has put them, all the drivers now are just as close as they've ever been.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's fun. It's exciting. I think everybody makes great stuff, right? Certain CGs and certain MOIs, certain heads, they just match up better for certain swing types, and you know. But I will say. There's a lot of good drivers in the marketplace. I will say the one thing I've kind of noticed is that some players are just a little reluctant to switch this year more so than years past. Um, and who knows if that'll change? But you know, it's once you have success with something, it's hard to forget about that and move on. And so just product has been it's been good. It's been good for a long time. The last 6 years, I would say, have been extremely good in terms of drivers that have come out from the market from all OEMs.
I think it's an argument for 2-year driver cycles. If there was ever a year to argue 2-year driver cycles, I would say for TaylorMade it would have been. I can't say QI35 because QI35 in the stores kills. Like
It's great.
it's just Rory and Scotty don't play it. Like that's the only argument against,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which makes
Yeah.
the world
So
crazy. Yeah.
right, but from a tour perspective, and Jacob, I'm curious your input on this, but from a tour perspective, I think a lot of the players on tour would probably prefer everybody to go across the board with 2-year driver cycles so they can actually work in a driver and get used to it. And you know, because truth be told, guys, like say for example, Callaway launches, you know, Bombay Sapphire Triple Diamond in January. Kellen and those guys don't really understand that driver at a ninja level until April. Like
Yeah.
they really don't know. I mean, they know enough to fit and to understand the nature of it, but they don't know exactly what it's going
Yeah.
to do under the gun for specific players until like April, right? So
You know,
that's
it's a lot like shafts, in my opinion, right? You know, once you find a shaft that works well, you kind of hold on to it with dear life. It's the same thing like with driver, and bringing up QI35, right? You know, yes, maybe Scotty and Rory didn't play with it, but that's because they hit the QI10 so well. But if you look at Colin Morikawa, if you look at Tommy Fleetwood, guys on their staff who were probably playing older drivers last generation that came around, you know, now they're in the new one, it works well for them. So we see the same thing with shafts too. It's just what works well for some people doesn't work the same for others. And um, you know, so I would say yes, those two aren't playing it, but then they got those other two, right? So
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with Elite and Callaway Alexander doesn't play the Elite, but you know the rest of a big bulk of the staff does. I mean, it's just again with Kellen and I talked about this too. Like, and Adrian said this about Scotty. He said Scotty has a QI35 that he hits as good as any
yep.
QI10 that we've built him. The problem is he's won 1,000 tournaments in the last 12 months,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's got to have a good reason to change.